Some of our spring sports are still playing. Baseball, softball are going on all across the country, not just at the University of Arizona. But how did the pandemic change UA sports all of this year?
Well, in a lot of ways, it was a lot of stop and go. In some cases, you had to be prepared to travel, and you didn't quite know if you were going to be in a bubble or if you're going to be driving there or flying there commercially or private. So a lot of on edge kind of preparation, and that's tough. When you're mentally and physically trying to gear up for competition, to not know whether it's going to be 100% go. Um, on the other side, because there was so much patchwork with different health departments, restricting things or allowing things, and also the fact that some competitors didn't have the same level of testing as Pac-12 mandated. So there was a lot of Swiss cheese going on in terms of mixed results, and that's tough mentally and physically.
Did the NCAA, which of course oversees all of college sports, did they make any allowances for student athletes in this past year that they hadn't in previous years because of the pandemic, maybe changing eligibility requirements and things like that?
Absolutely. So the big change from the NCAA was allowing student athletes to apply for waivers for a full-time enrollment and progress towards degree. And those are two important benchmarks that every student athlete needs to meet every semester in order to maintain eligibility. But the NCAA understood that different student athletes were faced with different challenges either at home or at the university, and so they gave some leeway there, which allowed student athletes who maybe couldn't finish a semester or couldn't finish a class to apply for that waiver and still maintain the eligibility, but with that, provide a plan for completion. How are you going to make those units up in the future? It wasn't just a free pass. It was thinking about how you're going to make it up after the fact.
All right, I guess we need to ask you to get your crystal ball out. The semester has ended for the University of Arizona, ending all over the country for colleges and universities. What's athletics look like in the next academic year come August?
Yeah, it's very interesting because we are now planning to have a somewhat normal academic year starting in August. But we're still going to feel the effects of COVID. The ripple effects are going to be persistent. And the most important one probably is the size of the roster for specific teams, right? Because I'll give you an example. Major League Baseball last year only had a limited draft. As a result, players didn't put themselves out to be drafted as high numbers as in the past. Therefore, you have this sort of bottleneck that's created on the roster. And so, for somebody coming in into college athletics, maybe as a freshman, there probably isn't as much opportunity to play because the roster is top heavy. You have seniors and you have what we call COVID seniors now. And so it's tougher for coaches now to manage their scholarship money. It's tougher for incoming students to try to figure out what their role on the team is going to be. So I think you're going to see some of that for probably the next 3 or 4 years as the ripple effects continue to be evident.
You mentioned those high school athletes hoping to come and play at the University of Arizona or somewhere else. Are there going to be fewer scholarships because there are fewer roster spots for them?
Well, the number of scholarships stays the same. It's just more people competing for them, right? And the difference is in some cases you have head count sports, and other cases you have equivalency sports. So those head count sports are ones where if you have a scholarship, it's 100% or nothing. And so those are competitive in a different way. You either have a scholarship or you don't. It's those equivalency sports where it starts to get more interesting because you could split a scholarship into smaller pieces, smaller slices. And so maybe there is more room to distribute, but there are more mouths to feed, so to speak, and more people that are available to be on the roster, but you have the same amount of scholarships. So it's probably just a game. Coaches are going to be getting very good at fractions and percentages, right? And you have to get really creative, maybe get some significant digits on the right side of the decimal there.